What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Sunday, July 6th. We'll start it off, as always, with our transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as second baseman Andres Gimenez was placed on the 10-day IL with an ankle sprain. He will wear a boot for the next 5 to 7 days, and after that will be reevaluated. So it's still possible he returns in the minimum time. However, we'll get a better idea in the coming days on Gimenez's status. Will Wagner is expected to be on the strong side of a platoon with Leo Jimenez at second base while Gimenez is out. Joey Loperfido was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move. He started against a southpaw in his season debut. That's notable because Loperfido is a left-handed hitter, so it's possible he could see everyday playing time in the outfield for the time being. Next, we have outfielder Lane Thomas, who was placed on the 10-day IL with plantar fasciitis. Angel Martinez is expected to shift from second base to center field to cover Thomas while he is out. It's been a tough season full of injuries for Lane Thomas. Will Wilson was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and he'll be on the short side of a second base platoon with Daniel Schneemann for the Guardians. And our last IL placement involves designated hitter Pavin Smith, who landed on the 10-day IL with an oblique strain. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is expected to move from left field to DH, which will allow Jake McCarthy to be on the strong side of a left field platoon with Randall Grichuk. Tristan English was selected from the minors in a corresponding move and will fill a bench role. He has the ability to play all the corners: first base, third base, left field, and right field. In terms of transactions, starting pitcher Shinsuke Ogasawara was recalled from the minors to make his MLB debut. Perfect pronunciation there. Apologies. He made his MLB debut against the Red Sox, tossing 2 2/3 innings, allowing 7 hits and 4 earned runs while walking nobody and punching out 2, inducing 4 whiffs with 33% CSW across 55 pitches. Not a great debut for Ogasawara, but I'm excited to see what he can do in his first season stateside. Next, we have starting pitcher Stephen Kolek, who was optioned to the minors. In a corresponding moves, starting pitcher Kyle Hart was recalled from the minors to pitch in bulk out of the bullpen for the Padres. He faced the Rangers, tossing 3 2/3 perfect innings, allowing just nothing and 2 strikeouts while inducing 7 whiffs with 33% CSW across 43 pitches. Hart is expected to probably pitch in the rotation moving forward. They got just 3 guys in there right now, but Yu Darvish is expected back on Monday, so we're getting a better idea of what the Padres bullpen or rotation is going to look like moving forward. Next, we have starting pitcher Brandon Woodruff, who finally made his return from elbow surgery, a long-awaited return as he hasn't pitched since 2023. Woodruff was activated from the 60-day IL to make his season debut in Miami, and we'll talk about this start later. In a corresponding move, pretty surprising, Chad Patrick was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. It sort of makes sense, though, because the only other option was really Quinn Priester, and he only has 1 option left. So Patrick will be the one headed to the minors for the Brewers. Lastly, starting pitcher Emmett Sheehan was recalled from the minors to start versus the Astros. He tossed 5 innings, allowing 5 hits and 1 earned run while walking 1 and striking out 4. He induced 14 whiffs with 24% CSW across 80 pitches. Jack Little was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. In terms of news, first baseman Rhys Hoskins is expected to be placed on the 10-day IL with a grade 2 thumb sprain. In a corresponding move, we're likely to see Andrew Vaughn called up from the minors and be on the short side of a first base platoon with Jake Bauers to replace Rhys Hoskins. And lastly, starting pitcher Cameron Schlitter is expected to have his contract selected on Wednesday to make his MLB debut versus the Mariners. Schlitter is the Yankees' number 10 prospect according to MLB Pipeline. Now we'll take a look at our notable performances from Sunday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with second baseman Bryson Stott, who helped the Phillies to win against the Reds, going 1 for 2 with a run, a home run, 2 RBIs, and 2 walks. It was his 6th homer of the year, and it traveled 405 feet at 106 miles per hour. And it's been an underwhelming season for Bryson Stott, as he's been limited to a platoon for the Phillies at second base, while being dropped to the 8th spot in the lineup due to a career worst 7 78 WRC plus and a lack of success on the base pass. Stott has never really been a great real life hitter, but he makes up for that in fantasy with a little pop and 30 stolen base ability. But his bat has dwindled this year due to a more patient approach, despite an increase in pitches in the zone, which has resulted in a rise in called strikes against him. The only positive trade-off for Stott has been a career high barrel rate, but even that's only at 5% and barely better than his career rate entering this year. So I think at this point we can say Stott is pretty droppable in 10-team leagues, but I think his role and his stolen base ability, which hasn't been on full display this year, but maybe will be more so in the second half, makes him still rosterable in standard leagues and deeper. Next, we have first baseman Christian Walker, who helped the Astros to win in LA against the Dodgers, going 1 for 5 with a run, a home run, and an RBI. It was his 12th homer of the year, and it traveled 379 feet at 103 miles per hour. And Walker's first impression in Houston hasn't gone as planned. We sort of envisioned an improved version of the first baseman, expecting him to take advantage of the Crawford boxes in Daikin Park. Instead, the usually consistent hitter has struggled to an 88 WRC plus this year, and it's almost like he can't see the ball or something because he's sporting the lowest walk rate and the highest strikeout rate of his career. On the bright side, things are looking up for Walker as he's batted .290 with 4 dingers across his past 23 games since July 11th or June 11th, as an all fields approach has led to more success on balls in play. Overall, StatCast suggests he's been underperforming in the power department, so we could be witnessing the beginning of an offensive boom from Christian Walker. And lastly, outfielder Mike Trout did all he could, but the Angels lost in Toronto. He went 1 for 4 with a run, a home run, an RBI, and a walk. Was his 14th homer of the year, and it traveled 365 feet at 104 miles per hour. And it's a little sad watching Trout fall off as he's limited to DH duties while sporting the worst WRC plus of his career this year. Trout is still doing everything he can to recapture his old form, and luckily the surface numbers don't tell the whole story. He's batting .231 with a .797 OPS, and I'd say Trout isn't washed just yet. His 16% barrel rate and 52% hard hit rate still stand out, and StatCast suggests he's been very unlucky this year. I really wouldn't worry about Mike Trout and would honestly be trying to buy low wherever I can. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Sunday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with the aforementioned Brandon Woodruff, who helped the Brewers to win in Miami, tossing 6 innings, allowing 2 hits and 1 earned run while walking nobody and punching out 8. He induced 10 whiffs with 41% CSW across 70 pitches, and this was Woodruff's first start since 2023, and he earned the King Cole as he led baseball with that 41% CSW on Sunday. Very impressive return for Woodruff. His four-seamer was still his signature pitch, but it's lost a couple miles per hour of velocity since the injuries he's dealt with over the past couple of years. But he made up for that with improved shape on the pitch and solid locations around the zone as he returned 4 whiffs and 39% CSW, while his sinker was taken in the zone all day for 11 called strikes and 67% CSW. Woodruff failed to find a reliable secondary against right-handed hitters, struggling with his cutter command and not trusting his sweeper enough, but his changeup was disgusting against lefties, earning strikes 90% of the time while inducing 4 whiffs and 50% CSW. There will be some ups and downs as Woodruff gets settled back in, but we are not afraid of sending him out versus the Nationals up next. Next, we have Gavin Williams, who did all he could, but the Guardians lost to the Tigers. He tossed 6 shutout innings, allowing 1 hit while walking 3 and punching out 8. He induced 18 whiffs with 34% CSW across 97 pitches. And Williams continues to evolve as a pitcher. He worked initially on improving his control, then added a cutter when Nick begged for one, and is now incorporating a sinker to take the pressure off his four-seamer and breakers to return consistent strikes, ultimately allowing his bread and butter to taste even better. Williams' heater found 6 whiffs and 40% CSW in this one. His big curve returned 5 whiffs and 38% CSW, while his sweeper induced 7 whiffs and 40% CSW. So those trio of pitches were on fire on Sunday. The sinker and cutter were there to earn strikes against righties and lefties respectively, and the rest is history. I am pumped for the second half and for Williams' next start in Chicago against the White Sox up next. And lastly, we have Michael Lorenzen, who helped the Royals to win in Arizona, tossing 7 shutout innings, allowing 2 hits and 1 walk while striking out 7. He induced 17 whiffs with 34% CSW across 82 pitches. And Lorenzen took care of the D-backs with his usual kitchen sink approach as he turned to 7 different offerings to complete 7 shutout frames efficiently. Facing a lefty-heavy lineup, his changeup was the star of the show, inducing 8 whiffs and 45% CSW, while receiving a ton of support from his sinker with 4 whiffs and 42% CSW. Lorenzen's cutter feel was impeccable in this one, as all 10 of his cutters returned to strike, and he went 6 out of 6 outs on balls in play with the pitch as well. Sweepers, four-seamers, curves, and sliders kept the Snakes guessing all night, and despite Lorenzen's success here, I'd say his next start versus the Mets is questionable. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Sunday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Seranthony Dominguez recorded his second save as he worked around a solo shot. Felix Bautista had pitched on back-to-back days, so he needed some rest in this one. Jordan Hicks worked around a run for his first save of the season. Aroldis Chapman pitched a scoreless 8th in this one for his third hold, and it's possible Chapman is used more as a high leverage arm moving forward, as the Red Sox seem to trust Hicks in the 9th inning, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Jeff Hoffman pitched a perfect 9th for his 22nd save. Devin Williams recorded his 12th save with a perfect 9th. Trevor McGill pitched a perfect 9th for his 20th save. Eric Orrs worked around the zombie runner scoring for his 3rd save. Pete Fairbanks recorded the final 5 outs of regulation in that one to earn his 4th win. Seth Halverson pitched a hitless 9th for his 8th save. Andres Munoz recorded his 21st save with a perfect 9th. And lastly, Robert Suarez is up to 25 saves after his perfect 9th. He is leading the National League in saves and is tied for the MLB lead with Josh Hader. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or below their saves, Raisel Iglesias pitched a perfect 9th down by 2. The Braves are off today, so it makes sense that they were willing to use him in that one. Same with Kyle Finnegan, as the Nationals are off today. Kyle Finnegan recorded 1 out in the 9th, down by 3 on Sunday. Emmanuel Clase surrendered a run in the 9th to blow his 4th save, and the Guardians would eventually lose that one in 10 innings. Carlos Estevez pitched a perfect 9th, up by 4. Tanner Scott allowed a pair of homers while failing to escape the 8th, weird usage there. Daniel Palencia recorded the final 2 outs of the game with an 11-run lead. The Cubs are off today, so they were fine using him with a massive lead in that one. Mason Miller pitched a perfect 9th, down by 5. The A's are off today, so they were fine throwing him out there in that one. And lastly, Camilo Doval worked around a run to close out the game against the A's. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on PitcherList.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Monday, July 7th, a day in which we'll have just 10 games on the slate. My matchup of the day is Jacob deGrom versus Yusei Kikuchi. Both of them have been incredible this year. Obviously, deGrom a lot more and Kikuchi more so recently, but I think this should be a good battle in an intra-division matchup. In terms of probable starters, our auto starts tier has 7 guys, including deGrom and Kikuchi. We've also got Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Milwaukee, Hunter Brown versus the Guardians, and Christopher Sanchez in San Francisco. Our probably starts tier has 6 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Richard Fitts versus Colorado. Pretty solid repertoire for Fitts. Nothing that really stands out, but definitely enough to take on the Rockies outside of Coors. I'd also keep an eye out for Landon Rupp versus the Phillies. Not the greatest of matchups for Rupp, but he's been very solid this year, has been improving throughout the season. Wasn't great last time out, but I think he should do fine against the Phillies. In terms of hitter suggestions, I go for Marlins and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark. Great offensive park to target hitters in, and we'll see Jansen Junk take on Brady Singer in that one, so target left-handed hitters on the Marlins and the Reds. I'd also look at Guardians and Astros hitters in Daikin Park. We'll see Tanner Bybee take on Colton Gordon. Obviously, Bybee's pretty solid, but the Astros bats have been on fire, so I want to keep targeting them. While Colton Gordon, a southpaw, is not too overwhelming. I think the Guardians should be able to do a lot of damage against him. And in terms of relievers to watch, it looks like every single closer is good to go on Monday. So really not too many save vulture opportunities. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.